Good morning and welcome back to Come Into the Light with Deacon Bill. Some of you with a little snow on the roof like me remember the old westerns where there was always a fight between the cattlemen and the sheep herders in the old west of America. The fight was always about fences because the shepherds wanted to allow their sheep to roam and the cattlemen wanted to keep their cattle fenced in. In the Old West, when there were wars about this, ultimately at least 54 shepherds were killed in these actual battles, and over 50,000 sheep were slaughtered. These old movies make our understanding of sheep and shepherds different from the understanding of Jesus and those in Israel when the gospel was written. As so often happens in history, the story is told by the winners. So for us, cattlemen equal John Wayne, and the shepherds, well, not so much. In Israel, sheep wandered, and because grass was hard to find, they didn't have huge herds of cattle that we did in America. Because sheep wandered to look for grass, the role of the shepherd and his relationship with his flock was critical to the people of Israel. Shepherds were the fearless John Wayne types protecting their sheep in Israel of old. We tend to think you just fence the livestock in and the problem is solved. Our churches tend to operate that way, don't they? If they're born a Catholic, they should stay a Catholic unless there's something wrong with our fence. The problem isn't with the fence. The problem with is who telling the story about to our sheep. We have some misconceptions about sheep, of course. First, we tend to think they're stupid, when in fact they're actually pretty intelligent as farm animals go, somewhere between pigs and our beloved American cattle. Typically, sheep run as a group from what frightened them because they're gregarious. They like to be a part of a group for safety. And lastly, they will move towards someone they like, someone who has fed them or taken care of them, like a shepherd. Judith Fain, a PhD candidate from the University of Durham, observed the behavior of sheep toward their shepherd when in Israel she observed 3 flocks of sheep and their shepherds passing each other on the road. As the shepherds stopped to talk, the 3 sheep flocks mingled together to become one herd. But when the shepherds were done talking, they all called to their sheep, and the 3 flocks separated as if by magic and followed their own shepherd. Like in the gospel, the sheep recognize his voice, and they follow their shepherd. This is the behavior that Jesus knew as he spoke in the gospel. The problem with our culture today, however, is that we have damaged our ability to determine which shepherd we are to follow. Like the 3 flocks, our families in many cases are dividing like those 3 flocks, all going off in different directions because they're listening to different shepherds. The sheep of our flock have wandered for so long without adequate food amid the sound of so many competing voices that they've forgotten their instinct to remain with their own flock. Our sheep are wandering off in increasing numbers. Jesus warned us about the thieves and robbers who climb over the shepherd's gate to gain access to the sheep. Who's climbing over the fence at your house? Who is telling the story of what life is about to your family? Clearly, parents and to a certain extent grandparents are the shepherds of our own children. Our kids recognize our voice if they are able to hear us over the noise and the voice of the robber and the thief, who we let climb our fence. Here at church, they hear the shepherd's voice in the person of the priest and the deacons, the catechists. But who are the thieves and robbers who gain their attention through their smartphones, sometimes even as we are talking to them? The shepherd's voice is often difficult for the sheep to hear over all the competing voices. I ask you, what's entering your house that your children and you have access to? I don't suspect that I'll make many teenagers or even younger children happy with what I'm about to say, but seriously, ladies and gentlemen, do you know the voices your children have access to? Studies show that north of 70% of teenagers say they're getting their sex education from the internet that they have access to using their iPad or their phone. What does that tell you about the shepherds they're listening to? Unfortunately, we don't need such a strong example to make the point. What are the cattlemen, the so-called winners of our culture, telling them about marriage, family life, on the sitcoms or dramas they watch on television each night? Better question, how much time are they spending on the computer, with their gaming system, their phone or television each day? Church gets them for maybe 3 or 4 hours a week. How many hours are they devoting to the rest of these pursuits? Now, just so you don't think I'm picking on the kids, I have to ask Mom and Dad, what are you watching? Dad, how much sex and violence are you consuming on a nightly basis? And Dad, I'm only talking about ESPN and Fox Sports Net, not anything else that you may find time to consume on your phone and computer. And moms, what kind of novels get automatically downloaded to your Kindle or your iPad? Did you read or go see 50 Shades of Grey and or the sequel? These are all thieves and robbers that we voluntarily let into our homes to hide and conceal the shepherd's voice. There was a movie a couple years ago called Courageous. The name was taken from the theme song of the same name performed by Casting Crowns. Its lyrics challenged us then and challenge us today. They go like this: we are made to be courageous. We were warriors on the front line, standing and unafraid, but now we're watchers on the sidelines while our families slip away. We were made to be courageous, and it starts now. The only way we'll ever stand is on our knees with lifted hands. We love our wives and children. We refuse to let them fall. May the watchers become warriors. Let the men of God arise. Be a shepherd to your family and lead them to the Lord. Spend time in prayer with your family. Introduce them to the shepherd who can save them. To hear the shepherd's voice, it is necessary to spend time with him each and every day. Read the Bible yourself and read it to your children. Give Jesus a fighting chance against the thieves and robbers who come only to steal and slaughter and destroy. Unplug, disconnect, and spend time with your family telling them the story of Jesus Christ. Your family can't hear the voice of the shepherd without your help. There's just too much noise and too many forces of evil aligned against them. The shepherd was born of a virgin and became man so that you and your family may have life and have it more abundantly. Men and women of God, arise and listen to the shepherd's voice.